All right, we are live. We are live. It's a Tuesday morning. Hello, hello, wherever you are in the world. Greetings to you. It could be morning, it could be afternoon, it could be evening. Where you are welcome to join us on this live for this Tuesday. It's a beautiful, warm Tuesday morning in Bulawayo, and I'm loving it. All right. Yes, so yesterday we talked about, societal conditioning and how we can show up strong, for the things that, having looked at everything that I'm doing. Hi, welcome. Everything that I'm doing, really, it's all based on the personal journey that I've been embarking on over the last couple of months, finding myself, redefining who I am, and inspired to say, you know what, let me not walk on this amazing journey by myself, but let me take along my fellow sisters with me, even my brothers with me as well, because really the principles of what I'm talking about cut across all genders, they cut across all sexes. It's things that we need to do and face up to. Hi. Thank you so much for jumping onto the call. So it's things that we really need to my sister Oline, how are you? Welcome. So it's things that we really need to look at and, for our own personal growth and personal development. So yesterday, as we were celebrating Women's Women's Day and looking at the theme, that was saying, an equal world, an empowered world. At the end of the day, we say, when we get the opportunities as women, are we ready for them? Are we prepared? And I gave a typical example of myself, in terms of how. Morning, Samu. Thank you so much for being on the call. Appreciate you for that. So there is the societal conditioning that we have. Both sexes are conditioned, you see. It's not just the men who are being conditioned to be oppressive to women, but women are also have been conditioned to be submissive, even where they are not supposed to be submissive. Right? So at the end of the day, we want now to embark on that journey that will enable us, because I look at an example of people who were fighting for the liberation of most African countries. They went through very painful experiences in the war there, when they were out there in the bush and, setting people free. Now, when the freedom came, the thing is, we were all not emotionally ready for it. We were not equipped in terms of skills and capabilities that were going to enable us as Africans to pick up the baton from the oppressors that we removed and run with it with the efficiency that was required. So that is what I'm afraid of for us as women as well, to say, as we are continuing in the work of advocacy, working, towards creating a legal environment that looks at women as equals, creating even a social environment that looks at, socializing our young people, our grown-ups, our men and our women, to accommodate both sexes. Are we as women ready to pick up that baton when it comes, when that freedom comes? Because I gave a typical example of myself to say I really was not in an oppressive relationship, but for some reason, psychologically in my mind, I was always waiting for permission or for authorization, or I was restricting myself mentally to say, no, since his pay is at this level, there's no way that I should go beyond that as well. So all these things are mental, conditioning that we are in. So when that time comes, let's imagine all the ideal conditions being there, to say now women are being treated as equals. Now women are even the law that is in the countries is showing that we can all participate equally and, discharge ourselves the ways that we want. Are we ready for that emotionally? Are we ready for that mentally? And that is the gap that I would like for all of us to look at and to cover and to really, as women, as we advocate for that change, for gender perceptions, to change and opportunities to be open for all of us. Let's prepare ourselves, mentally and emotionally to show up strong so that when those opportunities come our way, we are ready to tackle them, because they do show up in little bits of pockets here and there. All right. For example, for myself, I grew up in a family where it didn't matter whether you were a boy or a girl. My father valued education for any human being. So me and my brothers all went to school, and there was none of us who was being, treated differently. Of course, you could say the socialization at home was such that when I got home, while my brothers, but you see, they were not doing nothing. They went into the garden while I went into the kitchen. So those are the different gender roles that were being defined for us, which I can really not argue against, at the time, though they are interchangeable. Now we understand all of that. But at the end of the day now, we want to come to a point where we say, how did a young girl who grew up in an environment where the family said, go as far as you want. Now, when I get into a marriage, I've got now the mindset of restricting myself. Where did that come from? So we don't want to be in a situation where, as women, we do realize those pockets of freedom, but we are not fully utilizing them because we are not processing our own conditioning, as individuals. Okay, I just need to beef up my power on my... I don't have Zesa right now, so I need to just make sure I'm connected to the... Okay, all right, to the mobile charger. So all these are things that I would like us to think about as we journey on. But also, we need to remove that victim mentality, because that victim mentality is conditioned into us by the external, influences that we grow up under. So our attitudes, our level of self-esteem, the healing of the emotional wounds that we went through. Some of us went through traumatic experiences when we were young. Some were abused. Some went through all sorts of different things that we went through. So unless we are dealing with that in the meantime, while we are working on all the other advocacy things that we are doing, on a personal level, we need to be addressing those issues that affect us directly as individuals. So yes, there is room for community healing, but there is also an individualized plan of changing, the dichotomy, of changing rather the paradigm. That's the word that I'm looking for, right? Of changing the paradigm of thinking that we are in as individuals, whether we are male or female, right? So process all those stored up emotions, all those negative things that we have grown up with, irrespective of our cultural backgrounds, irrespective of our sexes, and so on. So are we ready to move forward based on the fact that we do have a work to do at a personal level, so that as we look at ourselves contributing to society, as we're looking at ourselves exploiting opportunities that come our way, are we ready for that when it shows up or for itself? Because I'm in the entrepreneurial area, and as entrepreneurs, you can see the mental blockages that a lot of people have. Not only women but men as well, but particularly us as women, where we just limit ourselves. We make our children excuses for why we cannot show up strong in business. Why? Because now I have to do all the cooking myself, when I can hire somebody who can do that effectively. I have to do all the laundry myself. Who said you should? I have to do all the all the things at home. You are stressing yourself coming from work or from your office. Whatever is your vocation is, are you getting home now? You are tired and you are taking on all this burden, which is a full-time job. A mom who is at home is not idle. right? They are doing what, on a full-time basis to keep the home running and to make things run. So if you are in the office for the bulk of the day, or even if your office is at home, like mine, right? My office is at home. And I have to balance out to say, you know what, at the end of the day, there is no need for me to get carried away with domestic chores in the home when I have got a business to run. Right? So it's all about mindset now. When people come into my home, sometimes they don't understand. You are a stay-at-home mom, you've got a domestic assistant. Why do you have that? Is it necessary? Why are you incurring that cost? I'm incurring that cost because the dollar value of my hour, right, is much more than the work that I will be doing when I'm doing chores at home. So all those are mindsets that we need to change and to think through as individuals, as women, as people who are empowering ourselves, even as Black people, for example, who are trying to who are striving to get into successful businesses. We've got to look at all those things and not put all the parameters and not carry the excess baggage into the freedom squares that we are put into at different times by opportunity, by providence, and so on. So what are the 4 key questions that you need to be asking yourself as you are going through the journey of discovering yourself, of setting yourself up as a successful individual, male or female, more so addressing our women, who have been, maybe some of them, are coming from abusive or are currently even in relationships where they are feeling that they are oppressed, the girl child, who went through a rape, for example, or went through emotional abuse. There's so much that we as individuals are going through, which if we do not address, it doesn't matter how big an opportunity is placed in our hands, we will not discharge ourselves with the dignity that we deserve or with the fullness of exploiting the opportunity that we are capable of, unless we address those fundamental issues. So these are the 4 questions that you need to be asking yourself. What are you doing to participate in your own behavioral change, right? Are you taking the steps of of understanding why you behave yourself in certain ways? Why is it that you react when certain, there are certain prompts that come into your life, things that people do that make you react in certain ways. Why do you have those natural reactions? It's because of the conditioning that you have. And unless you understand the fundamentals of that kind of behavior that you have, you will never break out, you will never break through, and be the best that you can be. We can only rise as far as the mental freedom that we have. That is the glass ceiling that we have. So the glass ceiling that many of us talk about sometimes, it's not really because society has put it out there for us. It's because we are failing to look at, or we are not taking the time to consciously study ourselves, understand ourselves to a point where we know who we are and we understand the value. One of my coaches and mentors, that I've listened to over the last couple of years as I was developing myself as an entrepreneur, he says, participate in your own rescue. You've got to participate in your own rescue, because people bring opportunities to you, but if you are not taking them and doing what is needed for you to succeed, it doesn't matter that opportunity was there. All right. So let's address that. What are you doing as an individual to participate in your own behavioral change? What is it? Do you even understand why you behave the way that you do? You've got to understand that fundamental for you to be able to take things to the next level. And then the next question is, are you looking for ways to be responsible for your own actions? Right? Responsibility is what a lot of people are afraid of. People are afraid of being held accountable. Hold yourself accountable. Take responsibility for the place where you are. Accept the mistakes that you have made, right? Where you have made mistakes, be somebody who is willing to say, you know what, there I messed up. Right? Whether it's in your marriage, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your relationship with your children, whether it's in your relationship with your parents or whatever. At the end of the day, all of us have our weaknesses. None of us is perfect. So when you look at yourself, understand your weaknesses and take responsibility for your actions, then you are going to improve yourself, because you don't want to continuously show up weak. right? You don't want to continuously show up as somebody who is failing and failing, because you have put yourself in the limelight. Whose limelight? Your own limelight, right? Where you are saying to yourself, no, I cannot be making excuses all the time. I cannot be apologizing for the same thing to the same people all the time. It's time that I stepped up. It's time that I improved who I am. It's time that I changed the way that I show up in life. And then number 3, are you being empowered to manage and tolerate your own feelings, right? Many a times we want other people to process our feelings for us, right? Be somebody who faces your pain. If there is a painful situation that you have to recover from, be willing to go through that dark tunnel of dealing with your emotions and dealing with the background of where that pain is coming from, and take ownership of the process of getting yourself out of that dark valley. Nobody is going to take it for you. You've got to take it for yourself, right? So be empowered. And how can you be empowered? By understanding the processes of your thinking, by understanding why you behave the way that you do, by understanding how you show up the way that you show up in different circumstances and situations, by understanding how when a certain prompt comes into your life, you react in a certain way. All right. So all those are things that we need to look at for us to become mature individuals who actually grow from strength to strength continually. And the final fourth question is, are you staying in situations that are familiar regardless of merit? Right? So in other words, for example, if you are in an abusive environment, it's your responsibility to either talk to your partner and come to an understanding where you are saying we both need counseling for us to get out of this condition. If he is or she is not participating, in willing to go through the counseling process that you need for you to become better individuals as a couple, then it's about time you stepped out, right? Step out and take responsibility for your own personal emotional healing, and then you as time goes on, as you become better yourself, right? If that person also recognizes and realizes that they need to take the necessary steps, you might be reunited. Only God knows, right? But don't stay in an abusive environment simply because you want to fulfill societal norms. All right. Those are some of the things that we have to take responsibility for, especially as women. Set good examples for our daughters to show them that there is no need to tolerate, or there is no need for you not only tolerate, but there is no need for you to continually stay in an environment that is not serving you. Right? Whether it's a business relationship, if it's no longer serving you, sever it and leave. Right? And don't trash the other person. Don't trash the other business partner. Don't trash the opportunity because you have left it. Right? Just be somebody who, with a clean heart, right? With a clean heart, walk away and do something else. With a clean heart, step away and grow yourself, right? In the isolation of you where you feel you are safe. So at the end of the day, step out of environments that are not good for your social welfare, for your mental stability, for your strength as an individual. All right. So be honest with your answers as well. Don't delete. Don't because you are not cheating anyone, right? Anyone else but yourself. So don't cheat yourself by answering dishonestly. Answer honestly, because these questions and the answers that you're going to come out with for those four questions are going to take you to the next step. They're going to take you to the next level. You cannot move to the next level unless you answer. These are not the only questions, but I believe, these are the most important, and these are the most critical that we really need to look at right up front, as we look at ourselves and where we want to go and how we want to grow as individuals. All right. So in order for you to move towards being a healthy individual, for you to be able to move towards being a healthy mom, a healthy wife, a healthy single woman, You've got to answer these questions faithfully and honestly. And then you are going to be able to know where to go for answers or for solutions, that will enable you to face those challenges, face them and grow yourself. All right. Essentially, just to recap, the four. So, are you doing, or what is it that you are doing, rather, to participate in your own behavioral change or in your own rescue? Right? Rescuing yourself from that situation that is so uncomfortable, that is not serving you, that is not growing you. Are you looking for ways in which you can be responsible for your own actions? Find that emotional and spiritual fortitude that will enable you, to stand and stand very strongly, for that matter. Are you being empowered to manage and to tolerate your own feelings, right? Your own feelings, can get you into a lot of mess. Your own feelings where, because you are feeling inadequate, you want other people to fill that gap. Only you can fill that gap. There are things that other individuals cannot do for you, that only God can do for you if you looked for that empowering relationship with Him. And then I'm staying in situations that are familiar, right? Familiar, regardless of the merit of being in that situation. So at the end of the day, there are things that we cannot divorce ourselves from. We cannot remove ourselves from being children in a family that is unfavorable. But at the end of the day, our mindset, right? In case there are young people in here who will be watching this, whether it's a live on the live right now or as a replay later on, as you are living with those abusive parents, as you are living in that abusive environment or restrictive environment, you also should be growing yourself to a point where you say, one day I will turn 18 and I will leave this place. Am I living as an empowered person? Am I living as an emotionally strong person? One day I will turn 25, I will finish college, and I will no longer need to be, feeling like you are in servitude at the end of the day. When that day comes, are you set to be free? When that day comes, women on the call, when that day comes, when we will say the ideal situation or the ideal conditions that we are looking for have arrived, the men in our lives respect us, right? The legislation or the laws of the country are such that we can perform irrespective of who we are. Are we emotionally prepared for that time? Right? Are we going to be like our liberators? I hear a lot of people, who went to the, who participated in the war physically, who actually left the country and went and participated in the war as liberation war veterans and so on. They always have this thing of saying, you owe us, you owe us, you owe us. At the end of the day, it was to set the black man free of a system that was oppressive. Right? But now we are oppressing each other because we feel that those who did not hold the gun owe it to those who held the gun to pay homage. We respect that. And, I always say I love the American system where the veterans who go to the different wars that they participate in, they are never neglected. But at the same time, they don't hold the nation at ransom to say because we went and did this service for the nation, therefore everybody should be at our beck and call. All right, this will make me unpopular. This will make me, I don't know what consequences it will have for me, but at the end of the day, that is what has brought our African countries to ruin. People who feel that they are owed because they did something, and now that debt can never be fully paid. Whereas all they needed to process was the pain of the process that they went through. We do not deny that there is trauma that is associated with being at war. There is trauma that is associated with being in an abusive environment. Whether you are a child or you are a woman or you are a man, if you are in an abusive environment, you are traumatized. But how do you deal with that trauma coming out of there? Because your new relationships are going to be tainted by the past that you are carrying with you, which you are refusing, or which you are not allowing to be purged out of you, so that you become a new person who is now healthy enough to handle more advanced or even current relationships. All right. So as a survivor, or as not a survivor, but as somebody who has come out of a divorce, myself, I'm like, you know what? It's time I worked on myself. It doesn't matter what happened in my previous relationship. At the end of the day, it's about me working on me so that I'm the best person that I can be, not for somebody else, but for myself. And then the way that I interact with others is going to be at that higher level, because I've taken myself to that higher level of growth. I've taken myself to that higher level of showing up as an individual in society. So I hope you're going to find this useful. And so what I will really would love to ask you to do is to tag anyone that you feel, can contribute to this conversation. Also, leave your comments as well of what it is that you found, or something that is personally, not necessarily personal, but that really has had a profound impact on you as you were listening to this video. So at the end of the day, it's all about empowering each other. It's all about strengthening each other. It's all about showing each other how we can remove all that excess baggage that we are carrying on our shoulders, irrespective of where it came from. It's not about saying this one is wrong, this one is right. It's all about us becoming the superior beings that we ought to be by leaving behind the past and looking into a brighter future, because we are developing and growing ourselves. Have a brilliant day, and God bless you.